It's oh my god. See this I'll tell you because this is real. You It hurts that he's not here, but I'm so grateful that I have that closure. That I have that peace. That truth was, and that he knew that I loved him and he loved me. You know, um,
Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is B the CEO. Welcome back to Man Views and also BOK Podcast, where we cover everything that is fatherhood related. Today's episode, man, we have a wonderful guest today. Goes by the name of Sabrina, and she reached out to me through one of our comments on one of our YouTube videos, and her comment just kind of really stuck with me. Like the thing she was saying, I was like, man, wow, that I was very inspired to see someone really talking highly of fathers because a lot of time, we're as fathers, they get put on the back burner. And a lot of fathers go through like a lot where they don't see their kids and then the kids become adults where the adults have hatred in their heart, where they don't let the father tell their side of the story. And a lot of fathers go unnoticed. And to see someone say, hey, I went through something similar and here's my story, I was like, man, this is very inspirational. And I feel like it just really needed to be heard because not only for fathers, but also for kids, or for adults that used to be kids that went through what she went through. They might either gave up and not trying to find out what really happened to their fathers. Thanks for coming on board. Man, your story is really heartbroken, inspirational, motivational. And I do feel bad that you went through that because, like I said, I'm actually a father. I have a 3-year-old daughter, so I can only imagine, her going through her life, thinking that, here I am being told that, I'm a deadbeat or I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And it's not fair for the child and the father and everyone that's involved, right? So before we kind of go into like great details, tell them, who you are and what do you do for a living.
so first of all, thank you so much for having me on this platform and being able to give the opportunity to share my story and give as much insight from an adult perspective, looking at things in hindsight. So my name is Sabrina. I reside in the state of New York. For my job, I actually am a self-taught woodworker. So I'm an artist. I learned it during 2020. Before that, I worked for a telecommunications company as a trainer for 11 and a half years. COVID happened. So I started my own business and now I do this full time.
Oh, that's dope. So you said woodworker. So you are designing furnitures or artistic things to put in people's houses. Like what exactly are you doing with the business?
So I do boards. I like to call it functional art. So you have your standard chopping boards, but now I'm working with making wooden spheres. I use a lot of fire in my projects, so it's a blend of wood, resin, and just open to interpretation for whoever's. They're good conversation pieces, as I like to call them.
Oh wow! And so, how did you get into that? Like, what made you want to, learn that trait?
I learned it during the pandemic. Like I'm
Oh,
literally self-taught. So we were in lockdowns, and I just started to take this hobby on. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, so my
mhm.
husband got a discarded dining table from the street and said, "Hey, do you want to work with this?" And me being a Game of Thrones fan, I actually carved the map of Westeros into this table, and then I just started experimenting, and it took off from there. June of 2020, I was furloughed. We were let go, thousands of employees. And this was at the peak of the pandemic
Mhm.
during the George Floyd protests. And it was
Mhm.
like nobody could go anywhere, do anything. We were
Mhm.
all. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to make this my full time job. So I took that time being home with the family and learning this new craft. And then as things started to open up, I decided, hey, let me go out there and see if my stuff is worth buying. And now I have over 4,000 different items sold.
Wow.
I pay my taxes. I do all of that self-taught.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's been a good journey. And a lot of people said, "Go, would you go back to that
Mhm.
six-figure salary?"
Well, why? Okay, is it because it's giving you more time with the family, like to do your own thing? That's why.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it goes to there's a great partnership with me and my husband. Um,
Mm.
And for me, making that six-figure salary, that's time away from the family. That's,
Mm-hmm.
you're working so hard to provide for your family, but you're
Mm-hmm.
missing out on those moments. Kids, I had different offices all over New York. My kids would be asleep when I was leaving for work. And when I came back home, it was time for them to go to bed. These past 5 years since COVID have made me more aware of my children's needs,
Mm-hmm.
my responsibilities as a mother, my gratitude to my husband as a father.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't go back to that life of being away from my family. It's a trade off. Am I making six figures now? No.
No.
But the time with your
Family
family
time.
is priceless.
You have a husband. You mentioned that, and then you have kid or kids.
Kids. I have two children. My oldest is 29 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but he has cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
So he is physically and mentally incapacitated. But I take care of him. My husband takes care of him, but he is not his father. However, I will say that my oldest son's father, we have a great relationship.
That's
We've
good.
known each other for 30 some odd years, ups and downs. We had that whole baby mama clash. We went through it. He just
Yeah.
turned 50 and I'm 46. So we've experienced enough in our lives
Mm-hmm.
against each other, for each other, and with each other
Mm-hmm.
to still have a unity. He has a copy of the key to my house, so he can
Oh
come and
wow.
see his son whenever he wants to.
Okay.
So, and his wife is amazing. They're good people, and you have to hit a certain age, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say, in order to reach that level of understanding. And then I have my youngest son, James, who is my husband's child,
Mm-hmm.
who just celebrated a 14th birthday.
Oh wow. Congrats, man. Okay, a teenager.
Yeah, teenage boys. Yeah, I am glad I have my husband. I'm
Really?
glad because it's like there's certain things that it's
Yeah.
like that's you. Like I can't nope that conversation. So there's certain,
Yeah.
and I get it. There's a motherly approach to it, but
Yeah.
there's just certain things that a mother cannot teach a son. The same way that a father would have difficulties teaching
Mm-hmm.
a daughter
Yep.
when
Yep.
she comes of age. Like, can you
Mm-hmm.
come with me to the store to get me
Yeah. Yeah.
maxis? And you're just
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
we got it both ways. We got challenges both ways.
True. Now, I'm guessing him and the father of your son, the first son, they
Hmm.
get along very well. Everything is good.
Absolutely. Every they text each other. They play Call of Duty. Happy Father's Day. The best way I can put it is that my oldest son's father, um, he'll take care of the house while me and my husband we're going to Disney World this year. So
Mm,
it's going to be me, my husband, our son together, and my oldest son. So, and we've just, that's just how we are. We have a really good relationship. And also, it gives, and this is, again, comes with maturity.
mm-hmm,
It gives a sense of comfort to
mm-hmm,
him that he can go on with his life.
mm-hmm,
I mean, because he's remarried and he
mm-hmm,
also has a 10-year-old son, which is
mm-hmm.
my son's half brother.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot, because of our son's disability,
Mm-hmm.
we know and acknowledge that at the end of the day, his mother and his father are the ones that you trust implicitly.
Yeah.
Because once we're gone, who can
Mm,
we trust to
you're
take
right.
care of him?
You're right. You're right.
Um, so that requires joint effort. Like I have custody of our son, and when I'm kind of jumping all over the place, and I apologize, but
You're good.
I went through that phase when we first separated.
Mm,
I wasn't married to my oldest son's father, so
mm,
it's like he had these disabilities, and he just kind of he left. He bailed,
mm,
and at the time, being in my early 20s, that was kind of a burn. Like here
mm,
I am with this child that has all of these special needs, and you just decided to go. There was a time of resentment, honestly.
mm,
And I acknowledge that now I can acknowledge
mm,
that that had a lot to do. I played a part in that also.
mm,
We were two first loves, and it just, we grew up together, and now, we thought having a kid, but here's a kid with, disabilities.
mhm,
And it's like, how do we didn't know anybody like that. We didn't have anybody, my mother at the time, I'm sure we'll get into her in a little bit, was
mhm,
not supportive.
mm,
So there was, and it was very stressful. It was very stressful. And that, when you have outsiders infringing on what you're trying to build, that
mhm,
can put a chink in the armor, which is, what I did. So we were young. We were young, for a situation like that. Again, I can understand the fear
mhm,
of being able to just, I'm going to go, but you don't intend to leave unless you believe that the child is in good hands.
mm,
Like I can go because I know that that's going to be okay over there.
mm,
There's so many different things,
yeah,
but it's very easy to be very one-sided. He
mhm,
left me, he abandoned me, he's a
mhm,
deadbeat, he's this, he's that. I went through all of that. I went through all
mm,
of that. And then I started realizing that I started sounding like my own mother.
mm. Word. Okay, I
And
respect that.
being a child, I had no disability, so I
Yeah,
could only imagine
yeah.
me putting that on him. Couldn't
Mm.
do it.
You said a very key thing earlier. You say, you played a role in that. So exactly what did you played a role in?
I took a lot of traits um, from my mother
Mm,
at that time, because that's all that I knew
mm,
was how to attempt to emotionally manipulate someone,
mm,
when to cry, when to,
mm, mm,
when to give the silent treatment, when to rage, when to threaten. Um, you just don't inherit that from the friends that you learn in school. You learn
mm,
that from it. There's roots,
mhm,
and it was her. It was her. And I can understand when people say, "You're just like my mother. You're just like your father." Like
mm,
what? You get mad. Like no way.
mm,
So because we try
mm.
so hard not to be that, and I was turning into that. It's a product of my upbringing.
And so now, when did you realize that? You know what? Oh my God, I'm like my mom right now. Let me stop. Was it when you got older? Was it when you still in your 20s? When did you realize it?
Um, so I had my oldest when I was 16, 17.
Okay.
You know, was still living under the roof of my mother.
Mm,
So never had that, you know, living on my own type of situation, and I had no, way how to know how to be a mom.
mhm,
Keep in mind this is the '90s.
mhm,
It just, it was very different. When you looked at kids with their parents, I'm from Generation X. Parents try to be their kids' best friends.
mhm,
That was kind of like that time, at least where I grew up.
mhm.
Um, Fast forward to today, it's like the media, TikTok is your babysitter, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I think that as parents, we go through these different stages. I didn't have the ability to reach out to someone for help. Everything was self-taught, and in that sense, demanding answers. And I didn't have time to be a kid, because I was busy learning how to be a mother of a disabled child. So
Mm. And even though your mom wasn't no, under the same roof, she didn't teach you. Okay, here's what to do as a mother.
her, because of his disability and the fact that I was not married to my son's father, I remember one of her first things was, "We're going to go down to the welfare office and get
Mm,
you." And I was like, no, like I worked up until I was 8 months pregnant.
Mm,
Like I had a job and I wasn't gonna, like, I had never been on, I defiantly went against going on any type of public assistance because that's what she
mm,
lived off of,
mm,
you know? And I just, like, if I'm able bodied, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, you know? And that's how I just, built that. That's where we had very big differences. She was the type of person that stuff, that hustle,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And I was the type of person that you gotta work for it,
Yeah. Okay.
so that's where, and I guess that's where I started to question, and this was, I had my job, my first job. Remember, it's the 90s. I had my first job when I was 13, 14.
Mm,
So it's like, why is it that, but then my check would always go to her, to help pay her bills or whatever she was doing. And it was just, I didn't inherit that work ethic
mhm,
from her.
mm.
Where did I get it from? Where is it that we disagree so much on things? But I don't see that in you. I have her temper,
Mhm,
but the common sense, looking at things logically, doing things the right way, I didn't get
mhm.
that from her.
Let's get to your father and your mother, right? So before I do that, you have siblings, right? You have two other sisters.
I have two other sisters. I had three. One passed in 2013.
My condolences.
And I have a younger sister who we do not communicate. And I have an older sister who we do not communicate.
Oh man, so none of y'all cool? Oh, wow. Okay, I do want to dive into that a little bit. Okay, so now all from the same mom, same dad, or different brands?
No, actually, no. My youngest sister is, we have the same father. And when it comes to this situation, we are on completely opposite sides of the spectrum. She
Mm,
idolizes our mother, and I idolize my father. And that's where
mm.
it's, unfortunately, the cycle that didn't break.
Oh, so that kind of play a role, like why you guys are still not cool. I'm guessing. Wow. Now, okay, so why did you idolize your father and she chose the mother? I mean, because I'm sure y'all both saw the same thing in the household with the mom, right? Or she saw like another point of view.
And not a different point of view. She's 5 years younger than me.
Mm, okay.
So when my father left, I was 5 or 6,
Mm,
and my youngest was only, like, still in the crib. You know,
okay. Okay.
so it's, well, I have memories of my father of at 5 years old, but
Mm,
there was gaps in my life. Like, I was old enough to know him, old enough to remember him,
mm,
um, old enough to be weaponized by my mother at him. So there's certain things that stay in your memory that are so vivid.
mhm,
So I have more of a memory versus the
mm,
younger one who just has whatever our mother told her.
And then so now, were they married together? Your father and your mother? Was it like a
They
divorce?
were never married. They were
Okay.
never married. So this is, they were, in a sense, childhood sweethearts also.
Hmm.
Um, my father served in the Vietnam War.
Hmm.
So when he came back, he was drafted at age 19. So when he came back, he was out there for 2 or 3 years. When he came back, he worked at the post office and lived in the Bronx, and that's how he met my mother. Um, what can I say that except men like love the crazy.
So she was, okay, so but when did you realize? I guess she was crazy. 'Cause when you're young at 5 years old, you can't tell if your parents crazy or not. But what? When did you start saying any kind of crazy?
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell. It's only when there's things that, like, I remember the day that my father was forced to leave the apartment,
Mm,
and I put dates together, but, like, I have a majority of my father's personal effects, so I can look and say, I can run the numbers, and I was this age, and I remember this happening, and that's what, so that's how my mind works. So I remember the day. He was sitting at the kitchen table. She was in the living room. There's 5 cops surrounding him.
Wow.
Yeah. And because she had said that he hit her,
Mm,
I remember the fight. I'm sitting on the couch and I see him against the closet door, and she was a short woman, but
mm,
she was hitting him. Never hit
mm,
her. So it was seeing that. And then I remember crying. I remember my older sisters saying, "Be quiet, or she's gonna beat you, or whatever."
mm.
Like telling me to shut up, and like I'm like crying hysterically. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, and the only way I have to validate that story is when I reunited with my father in 2018.
Mm,
He told me about the day
mm,
without me even asking him about it. He told me about that day with the cops and everything that happened. So I was just like, it did happen. Like it wasn't
mm,
a figment of my imagination. It wasn't wiped from my memory. The fact that he
mm.
relayed back to me what I remembered so distinctly was a confirmation.
Man, wow. And so like they in the I don't know if you know or not, but did he get arrested? Or what, like was he put in jail?
No, he was just asked to leave, and he only was able to take a couple of his pieces of clothing.
Man,
Like, and he never came back.
man,
Never
that's
came back.
sad. So overall, at 5 years old, you just saw really her hitting him, but he ended up getting arrested, put in handcuffs and removed.
Well, not handcuffed, because at the time it was and you got to remember that this is the 80s.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, believe the mom, whatever,
mm,
believe the mom, and again, this is the 80s where the NYPD, they were like, little with the nightsticks and everything, so
mm.
it was just like they were kicking at his foot,
Oh
like trying to
wow.
provoke him, be like, oh, you're a tough guy, you like to hit women, you're
Oh
a tough guy. Yeah, that's how they were talking to him. So that you have to take that into account for that time.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was no internet. There
That's
was
true.
no body cams. There
That's
was
true.
no iPhones. So believe the men in the
Mm,
80s.
that's what you're saying. Empire. Yeah. Damn. Damn. So she knew she had that weapon and she utilized it. Unfortunately. My.
And fast forward to, and women use that formula
Oh
now.
yeah.
And you would think they would be smart. Like, this is forever. This
Yeah.
is like, it,
Yeah.
it baffles me.
Now that's why I tell every father, every man, listen, just record everything, document everything. You don't gotta like scream, fight back, and take revenge. Just get your phone out and just that's all you need. Okay, so from that time, that age, when was the next time that you saw your dad? Did he come back? Did he come back around like every now and then to check up on you, or was it like after that 5 years old cutoff age? That was it until you got older. When did you reconnect?
He wasn't allowed to come to the apartment.
Mm,
Um, but mom needed money.
mm,
So mom made it her business to file for child support. Um, but she did not do that at first. Looking at some of the receipts that I have, I would have to look back at from 1980 something when he started paying child support. But he was also doing money orders
uh,
and making her sign
mm,
that she got this money. She did.
mm,
And, she started getting more bitter about that
mm,
because it's like he was paying. And the thing is that we again never meet, he would never come to the apartment. She would always take me to a restaurant or some place close to his job or some meeting place where they could sit down. I would maybe
mm,
get to see him for 5 or 10 minutes, and that would be it.
man.
um yeah, no, so never did he ever like come to the house ever again. He never
Damn.
knew where we lived.
Yeah, and now when you saw him for like 5 minutes, was it like an ongoing thing until you turned 18 years old? Like you would just meet up every now and then?
No. um The last time that I saw him, my father, it would have to have been when I was 7 or 8,
Oh
maybe
wow.
9, and I was with her and my younger sister at the time, and she was saying, we're gonna get daddy back home. We're gonna get daddy back home. We're gonna be a family again. I'm gonna ask for your father back to come home, and it's gonna be great. She was like so, like, she thought she was gonna get him, and I'm over here thinking, daddy's coming home. Daddy's coming home. So we went to this restaurant of Cuchifrito. He said something to her. She grabs us and she's yanking us away. He's walking down, following us down the street, following us, and she turns around and I will never forget, she said this: "You'll see these kids again over my dead body."
Wow.
Literally said that, and I'm looking, he's following, and I'm like she's like she just. I remember her saying those words. Long time. We never stayed in one place. We never had our own apartment. We
Mm,
always lived with somebody. And it was hard. It was real hard, and it wasn't until I turned 18,
mm,
because I turned 18. I'm an adult. I have a job, I have a kid, like I can do what I want. And if I can have a kid and I can have a job and I can pay the bills, you know what, I'm going to go find my father,
mm,
and I'm going to introduce him to his grandson, and
mm-hmm,
I'm going to let him know that even though he wasn't around, I'm okay. I
mm-hmm,
forgive you, and
mm-hmm,
everything's all right, and I wish you nothing but the best.
mm,
And I reunited with him on that day, and he whipped out those receipts and all the petitions to take her to court, everything, endless yellowed pieces of paper and pay stubs of garnishments. And something inside me just, because all the years of abuse that I had endured from her,
mm,
none of that had to happen. None of
mm.
that had to happen if her love for her children was greater than her hatred of him. She ended up hating her kids too, anyway.
Is it because she was just so, I guess, regrets, or just it became hard? Because to raise two kids by yourself, especially back in the 80s and 90s, even now it's still hard. So is it more okay? She thought, man, she made a mistake because she was aware. What was the hatred towards y'all from her? Why did that spark in her heart?
My righteousness, or my sense of righteousness, my sense of right and wrong,
Mm,
was a mirror image of my father.
mm,
My younger sister is the physical spitting image of my father. Like, from he had a very dark skin tone, and his nose, and it's just when if you saw a picture of him when he was young in Vietnam and a picture of her, you would think they were brother and sister.
mm.
Um, my older sister, she got the physical abuse from it. She got the beatings because my mother was an alcoholic.
Mm,
And it was just, it was, for her, it was party all the time, party, party, party. Um, and for my older sister, she used to get abused, like physically abused. Like, she never abused me the way she abused my older sister. Like, I'm talking, she ran away. She
wow,
had broken bones,
wow,
bloody noses, busted lips, everything. Like, she got it. And my mother was the type of person that she did it. I remember she had her up by her throat,
wow.
and my sister's holding, and my mother looked at me and smiled. That's the type of person that she was. She would tell us how much she loved us and then wake us up in the middle of the night to beat the shit out of us. Excuse my language, sorry.
No, no,
To
you good, but jeez, Louise,
But
man,
that's who she was. And so much so that she would try to turn the daughters against each other. Like, it was always, I love you more than you, I love you more than you, and like, it just, to go through that,
yeah,
and then to see my father and see that, wow, you actually fought for us, because we were
Yeah.
told you never loved us, that you remarried, you got a replacement family,
Mm.
you're, I don't know if people remember, like, as far as your audience, she called an old talk show called Ricky Lake
Sound
to
familiar.
try to get him to go on the show to
Mm. They
expose
get
him as
her?
a deadbeat dad, and he
Oh
refused.
wow. Wow. So her main narrative was he's a deadbeat dad. Really, honest. She pushed him away and refused to let the father be involved.
Yep. And your children hate you. They're gonna hate you. Like, that was her mission, was to idolize her
Yeah.
and hate him.
Yeah.
But
And
it
then so
wasn't hating him. It was, why can't you, like you said, you love me. Like you said, you love us. Why can't you save us? But she did put the fear into us. If you stay, that's why she kept us separated. You
mm,
know, don't say this, don't say that, don't talk to the therapist. Everything's fine.
okay, 'cause I was gonna ask you, did you end up going to therapy? But I know it was a long time ago, and back in the '80s and '90s. But so
Yeah.
you did involve getting going to therapy.
I wound up going to therapy,
Like
but
around
it
what
was
age?
in the '80s. Yeah.
No, like around what age did you get to?
Oh, around what age? 10, 11.
Okay, and then she put you in therapy, like the mother.
Well, the school counselors at the time were
Mm,
seeing that I was having, um, taking my own life behaviors.
oh,
So the school counselor, I guess there was a CPS case. I forgot what they called it back in those days, but it was like mandated that I go see a
mm,
therapist. And it was always, don't say anything, or I'll buy you something, everything is fine, and all of that. So it was hard. I never, in those therapy sessions, never spoke of my father.
wow. I mean, like then, I'm sure the therapist must have asked you. So, what about your father? So, I mean, like, what would you say when they asked about your father?
He was a soldier in Vietnam.
Hmm.
I heard he died. I don't know if he's dead. I knew he was alive.
Yeah.
But the best way that I could make something, oh, I think he died in the war.
Oh man. Man, like this is a very sad thing for a young kid to do, to say that about their father, knowing that he's alive, but you can't really tell the therapist the truth because you fear for your life. You might get in trouble at home, and I'm guessing at no point your mother ever felt, at least see her feel bad for doing these things. She never had any kind of remorse in front of you, like man, like I'm wrong
If
for
she had remorse, it was through alcohol. Like her, I'm
uh,
sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But she was still not, and people blame mental health and mental illness and all of these things. It's not what it is. It's not. We, again, speaking to your general audience,
mhm,
we throw these words around to cushion what it actually is.
mm.
And nobody wants is the filter is like, that's what it is to reuse these words. My mother was a hoe. She was a hoe that got caught
Sorry for laughing, but yeah, I didn't expect that.
by my older sister, and that's why my older sister, and I realized this, at an older age, that she got all the physical abuse because she was the one that told my father that my mother was cheating on him.
Okay. So that's
And
the.
I learned that when I reunited with him. You know,
Mm,
I
mm,
confronted your mother on it. She went crazy on me, and that's when I left
mm,
the house. So, in looking at it now, I can see her wanting to take her physical rage out on
mm.
the person who
Exposed.
exposed her, right?
Mm,
So I get that. I don't, again, nobody deserves to be beat the way she was beat, but
yeah.
I get that's why she was the target. I can understand that.
Mm, damn.
So
And
she
okay.
wasn't even my dad's daughter,
Mm,
but she told my father
Yeah.
what her mother was doing.
Mm.
So my mother could have seen that as an act of betrayal because he's not even your effing father.
Oh, I see what you're
And
saying.
combined with the alcohol
Yeah.
and everything, that, that's a heavy cocktail.
Yeah. Okay. Dang. And your mother never got involved with anybody else in the house? Like you guys never had like a stepfather that came
Oh, yeah, we
in?
had plenty.
Plenty?
Plenty of different people that were our new daddies,
Wow.
mommy's special friend.
Mm.
And unfortunately, some of those special friends wanted to be special friends with the kids.
Oh my goodness.
She exposed us to a lot.
Wow. But like it's that shows the importance of a father figure being in the home, right? I mean, once you kind of take that out, I don't care how much child support that you are getting from the father, it doesn't replace the actual fatherly role in that household. Okay, so by the time the dad split, she was in her 30s by then.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
she was old enough to know better. Because at some point, we have to like hold folks accountable. When you were a
Hmm.
teenager, yeah, I could let it slide. You were a teen, you were a kid. I get it. You hurt. But when
Hmm.
you're like in your 30s and up, and you have 3 kids by now, at some point you have to,
Four, 4
4 kids.
girls, 4 kids.
Okay, so at one point you gotta like say, you know what, you gotta hold yourself accountable. So I was gonna try to give her some leeway. I'm like, you know what, nah, you were old enough to like know better and do better.
Yeah.
And then as for your dad goes, trying to find them, what made you say, you know what, let me go find my dad at 18? Like, what was the thing? I mean, first of all, how did you find him? Because this was like back then, there wasn't social media back then.
Nope.
Like, how did you,
MySpace, AOL.
MySpace was okay. So well, you found him on MySpace. Yeah, where you found your dad at? With MySpace? What did you?
Oh, I actually found him. So I was working at the time as a store manager for a company called Aeropostale.
Mm,
And I so happened to work with, it was a matter of coincidence. I was talking about my father
mm,
um, in passing, and the coworker that I worked with actually started, "Is your dad such and such?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he was like, "I know your father."
wow.
So I was working, it just happened. He gave me his number and he was like, I'm like, cool. So that's when I reached out, I called, and I remember that's the first thing that I told him when I was on the phone with him. I'm like, I just want you to know that I'm okay. You have a grandson.
Damn.
If you'd like to see him, I'd be more than happy to for you to meet him. I just want you to know that I'm okay. You know.
Damn.
So that's how it all unfolded. That my intention was not to be like, um, I want answers and da da da. No, at this time I'm a mom. I'm a
Mm,
mom of a disabled child.
mm-hmm,
Um, I wasn't out asking for help. I just going through what I went through in the first few years of my son's life. You come down to a sense of humility
mm,
where there's certain things you got to let go. And no matter how you feel, you just gotta, we're still here, we're alive, praise be to God, and I'm okay. And
mm,
then when he opened that door and he whipped out these boxes, and it's just like, this chapter's not over.
mm.
Like, what is happening right now? It's,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, man. And then so now when you was doing that, were your mom aware that you was going to meet your dad, or what you did it in secret, or
No, I told her. I told
ah,
her on my 18th birthday, and I didn't, and we were still living together at the time. But I told her, I said, I want closure. I want, because at that time she was with my stepfather.
mhm,
Um, and I just was like, I want him to know, like, I had this resentment. I had this chip on my shoulder. I want him to know that you guys did great raising me and I'm okay. And he had, I was going in with a sass, right?
mhm.
And she was all for it. She's like, that's right. You're going to put it in
Oh,
his face and tell him
I
you
see.
didn't need him all this time and so on and so forth. So it's like, and that was it was my genuine feeling at the time. Like,
Mm,
here I have this mother. We went through hell together, but you stuck around and he didn't stick around.
Mm,
You know, and here's my stepfather who has calls me his daughter, and he's here when you're not, and he's raising your grandson, and I
mm,
want you to know we're okay. It was kind of going to be my like in your face type of
mm.
situation. Like I did just fine without you. But when I saw the truth,
Oh.
I did horrible without him. I did
Mm,
horrible without him. The only trade off was if my father had raised me, I probably would not have my children today because
mm.
of the decisions that I made and the
I see.
type of man that he was. So it's okay. You know, I don't want to say, here, take my children. You know, I
Yeah.
want my childhood back. It's done. It's a life lesson. But when you're a child, a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
okay, especially because let's be honest, you know, boys, they have a certain sensitivity about them, but they're also taught to,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
whereas women try to be that way,
Mm-hmm.
but not when you have a camera in your face, like, I got you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They're not,
Yeah.
you know, we want to, but, and then say, I didn't do it. He hit me first.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. For me, it was the turning point. Like I held this in, like I went through so much abuse that I didn't have to go through. You
Mm,
know, I saw things happened to me. You know, I went through all of this and I didn't have to.
mm.
That's what killed me.
Let me ask you this in regard to that. When you went through the things, when you finally sat down and kind of see what you went through, were you blaming your dad for going through that, or did you blame your mom for going through that? Who did you blame for going
When I
through
was going through it or
that? Yeah,
when I found out the truth,
when you was going through it.
I blamed him.
Even though your mom was abusing you, it was her doing all the stuff. You saw it. You still blamed your dad and not the mother. Why is that?
Couple things. So the no matter what a woman says or a daughter says, she's
Mm-hmm.
always looking for that person to rescue her.
Mm.
Who better to rescue her than her father?
I see what you're saying.
Daddy comes in to save the day. Daddy's
Yeah.
going to kick this guy's butt for
Mm-hmm.
hurting me. You know, like that was the mindset where, and then to eliminate that from, you know, to kind of like have him not exist in my life, for me to make the choice for him not to exist in my life. She had said that he had gotten married and that he
Mm-hmm.
has two kids, so we're not needed anymore. Those are her words. You've been replaced. So we've been replaced. I've been replaced. Your father's not your father anymore. He doesn't love you.
Wow.
You hear that.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard to like not hate them because you're only hearing and seeing one side of the stories, and as a kid, you only see one linear, right? You only see that one world, which is whatever's in front of your face.
Yeah.
So I can't fault you for believing. You know what I'm saying? Your mother, which is very heartbroken.
Well, to
And
be fair, my father didn't let me off easy either because when we actually had this conversation, because maybe it was the type of person that he was
mhm,
a decorated war veteran, very
mhm.
stern, very whatever. His response to me was, how could you not have known? And
Yeah,
my response to him was like, I literally said, I was effing 9 years old. What was I supposed to know?
yeah,
What was I supposed to know? Well, you're my daughter. You should have known. I'm 9.
yeah,
I want to play with Barbie dolls. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I don't want boyfriend touching me. Like, what am I supposed to do?
yeah,
Because you have that fear put into you. That fear
mm,
comes from somewhere.
yeah, yeah. But also, I think for your dad though, once he left, he still had the same image of you being that 5 year old little girl that he used to bond with, right? Because
Mhm.
so he left with those memories of you. So in his head, he's like, but we had a strong bond. You know I was good to you. Why would you think I would do X, Y, and Z? But he doesn't. have that new image of you that of 9 years old. You only have that last memory, which is
Hmm.
when you was bonding together. So I think that's why he was like, man, but you should have known I would never do that. I would never stop loving you, right? And it's a lot of pain going on both
Yeah.
ends, right? Yours, his. So I mean, it's the main person to really blame. Unfortunately, is really the mother. I can't blame you or the father because you was a kid. You were 9 years old. I mean, like even though you knew your dad all the way to 5 years old, at one point your memories will get erased and
Hmm.
rewired from new things that's being said to you. You forgot. A lot of us don't know what happened. What happened when we was 5 years old. We can't recap the entire year as 5 or 6 years old. So eventually it's gonna really replace with new memories. And your mother as an adult was fully aware that, oh yeah, I could definitely rewire her mind and make her hate the father that she used to love. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's a very sad case that you went through that because you didn't have to go through that. You know what I'm trying to say? That you had a father that was there that could really love you and
But
protect you.
he also said that when we reunited, he was like, "I knew you would find out the truth. I knew you would know." I
Mm,
He said that to me. He's like, "I knew you would, and I just had to hope that I would still be here when you found out." I think that and it kind of segues. Every saddening story has a purpose behind it, the method behind the madness, which is why I wanted to come here and tell fathers from a daughter's perspective. At least I can't tell them what they're feeling. I can only provide a perspective of what a little girl feels
mhm,
when you're going through those emotions too, that the father is suffering just as much, but the father is the one that endures. And the father is the one that has to be that solid at some point because this child has been exposed to such instability.
mhm,
And the only thing that I can say is for those fathers that may have that challenge is that you're going to have to be, when your child finds out the truth, your child is going to, no matter how old they are, is going to just need you to open up your arms and let them be that little kid and cry that sorrow out.
mm,
Just that you're going to be there. Yes, you suffered. You suffered. You suffered to this day,
mhm,
gentlemen. Every gentleman that's out there watching this. You suffer every day. That embrace is the beginning process of you not healing, but grieving together.
mm,
Grieve for the time that you lost, but then have the repass of being together and making new memories and understanding each other in ways that are not going to dwell on the past because the past makes you what you are in the present
yeah.
and how you shape yourself in the future. For fathers, it's hard. They have to be patient with that rage and those
Mhm,
questions that the child
mhm,
will have. Why
mhm,
weren't you there? What why couldn't you be a family with us? Why couldn't you deal with it? You
mhm,
know? And it's at the end of the day, these are life choices that have to be made
mhm,
because it's either he leaves and gets to avoid getting pushed to the point of doing something or being
mhm,
put into the position of something where he's
mhm,
going to lose out for the next 18 years by default.
mhm,
Because I'm sorry, ladies, we are good at two things. Women are good at two things: love and revenge.
mhm,
Those are the two things that we are good at. We can love you with our whole heart. We can just give everything of ourselves to you to the point that we're carrying a baby for you for 9 months. But when
mhm.
you cross us, that revenge, ooh, ooh, you thought we loved you.
Yeah.
Mm, that is the hard part. And if it's just man, woman, that's it. But if there is a child involved,
Mm,
that's where we screw up because we
mm.
use that as a weapon.
Oof. Man, you saying that just gave me a lot of chills. Cause like, cause
I'm sorry, ladies, but we got to do better. Women have to do better
my goodness, I'm glad you brought this up. Now, why when okay, revenge? Why does it blind the mother, the woman was so to the point where she just because a lot of times when I look at these court hearings, even the ones I was involved in, a lot of time the mom, those kind of moms, because there are good moms out there, don't get me wrong, but those kind of moms, they don't really care about the child for real. It's not a child custody case. It's really a revenge, I'm trying to say like case. Why would you say that women get so blinded where even the child, like you said, used as a weapon? Like why?
because they hate the person more than they love the child. That's it. Anger gives you that adrenaline rush where you see red.
Yeah.
It's like being on a roller coaster and you're just constantly on the drop over and over and over again. But it's a very different feeling to deal with than sadness and grief.
Hmm.
That's why people blame each other for somebody's
Yeah.
death or
True.
start fighting over money and insurance policies and social security benefits and all this others. Who gets this? Who gets that?
That's true.
It's easier to deal with that possessions and things than it is to say, look, I don't like you, but we both love this person, and
Yeah.
and we don't have to speak again. It's easier to hate, hate, hate.
Yeah.
For women, it is easier to because we feel it's justified. We
Mhm.
feel it's justified. And when you have a child, and that's when you have a child, your life stops. Your life stops. I think that people have forgotten that crucial element is
Mhm.
that there's a part of you that is now it's an extension of you that you are responsible for. So not your nails, not your hair, not your iPhone that you can't pay, not your new sneakers, not daddy's new rims. Like you have a child. Child is about sacrifice.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you are not prepared to have those sacrifices, don't have a child.
That's true. That's true. And I also want to say too, like the thing she's saying is valid story. She sent me over some stuff to look at, video document. It's very legit. It's not just a story just to tell. And which is really like should give me like a lot much more respect to you because you backing up what you're saying. This is very confirmed stuff that she's saying on this episode where you really went through it. It's not just a story just being told just to be told. Like you actually went through that, unfortunately. So, but okay, so I do want to kind of go over like a few things you sent. Overall, the those two MySpace messages that was sent. So I'm guessing this was like on the later end of your mother's life when she was a little bit older, because it
Yeah,
sounded like
well,
that's when she
MySpace
was.
came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So she was still around. I'd have to look up when the end of MySpace was. Cause yeah, I mean again, peak of the internet,
Yeah.
but I think it was somewhere in the 2000s. I don't know if it's dated. I'm not sure if the MySpace post is
Let me
dated.
see. Yeah. So oh wait, so it was back in '08 when she
Oh
said.
wait, 2008 when that was posted. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and those are her words. And the thing is that he had found this page, her, clearly it's her,
Mhm.
and he screenshotted it and he sent it to me. He's like, I've had this for quite some time. So
So,
he was watching things happening.
mm,
So think about it. 10 years later, so that post is from 2008. He
yeah.
takes a screenshot of it in 2008. We reunite in 2018. So 10
Wow.
years he waited to show that to me. But
Wow.
he knew what was going on. He saw what
Oh,
was going on.
wow. Yeah, because it look like because they're supposed to look like she's supposed like it's like you just post a post, but it's not to anybody. It's just the thing. Just her just venting out. I'm guessing it's like
Yeah, the large paragraph, the way I sent it, I believe the large paragraph is first. And
mm,
then the short where the last word is priceless, that's the second part of the post. I think I might have
okay.
sent it to you backwards.
And then now with this message right here, so it seems like from what she wrote that By this point, she knew that you guys, well, it's mainly you because you went after her, that you didn't like her. Y'all wasn't connecting. I'm guessing.
Hmm.
So like, did you tell her, hey, mom, I don't like you no more? Like, how did that come about when you guys finally fell off?
So with my stepfather at the time, they were living upstate, her, him,
Hmm.
and she abandoned him, left him in a trailer to go
Wow.
be with a man that she met on the internet in the Midwest. So I, at that time, I'm living in a studio apartment. My boy is what, 2 years old, 3 years old. So I'm like on my own, but here goes my mother abandoning my stepfather who raised me for 17 years.
Wow.
So, and nobody wanted him. Nobody, oh, okay. And here I was. I said, you know what? You took care of me. I'm going to take care of you. And this was my stepfather.
Hmm.
So he moved in with me, and it was just, that was the point where it's like she sucked the life out of him, and now he's supposed to be scattered in the wind. That's what shifted.
It was like, you know what? Enough is enough. Like I've seen what you did. You done this to my dad. You done this to my stepdad. Like you done this to all of us, to your
Mhm.
kids. Enough is enough.
Yeah,
And then by that time, you was what in your 20s. I'm guessing by
in my
that time.
20s.
Yeah,
Yep,
she
in my
was
20s.
old enough. When you guys parted ways, did she say, "Well, whatever, I don't like you anyway"? Like, what was the last conversation you guys had?
The last physical conflict that I had. Oh wow. Um, so the last physical conflict that I had was, so she was living in the Midwest, and my stepfather was still living with me, and they went to a graduation, my youngest sister's graduation out in the Midwest. So she drove. She drove back and forth. Um, so at that point I had no relationship with her after everything with my father and
Mm.
her leaving my stepfather and stuff like that. So um he came home, and me, stupid me, I didn't lock the door behind me. So because he said, she's downstairs, she wants to see you, and she wants to see, her grandson. And I was screaming to the top of my lungs like, hell no. And I mean, I live in the Bronx, so I was going off. And here she comes walking through the door. I forgot to lock the door. And I told her, like, I had never spoken to her, like, get out of my house, get out. And she
Man,
just looked at me like, what? And I'm like, get out. I said, you abandoned this family. You don't have a right to anybody here. I said, that man right there, and he was sitting on the couch. I said, that man right there has done more for me in the 17 years that he's raised me than you have ever done in your lifetime. He is more of a parent. I literally said that. He's more of the man you'll ever be. She looked at him and swung at him.
she swung at him,
Him.
at him.
Him.
So she just swung at him.
He was hitting him. She started
Oh
hitting
my
him.
god!
So right there, and at that point, I'm like, oh hell no. And I like grabbed her, and and she got out, and she was cursing and swearing, and I just shoot her away. And the thing is, it's that, but that right there is a perfect example. You're telling her that that man is more of a parent than you will ever be. You would think that she would be coming at me for
Hmm.
me insulting her. No, she goes and she hits the man that I have declared is a better parent. She's beating the good parent. That's on her. That's not a, again, the whole mental illness thing. No, it's just
Yeah.
it's how you see the world.
When you're not held accountable at all, and you get away with things like this, then you will never learn. You never grow. Right? And it sounds like she was never held accountable at all. Now, and then also one thing I've learned too, someone told me a while back, is that throughout the custody cases, whenever a father loses their child because the mom refused to let the child see the father, down the line, the child will be the one that gets the father's revenge for him. In other words, 9 out of 10, kind of like how you and your mom kind of exploded. It's just funny how she did all those stuff throughout the years to make you love her and hate the father. Where towards the very end, it kind of backlash like, no, you are a terrible parent. To me, I think that's like not saying we should like get revenge, but that's karma in a way. It's like I'm trying to say that's yeah, it took a little bit some years, but at the end of the day, it's still like that kind of burn where that's like your last burn memory. It hurt more than what you did to the dad, and I think that's like a perfect example. Eventually karma will catch up to you, and your kids will be the one that serve the karma, not even the father. That's not who's going to serve it. It's going to be the one that you try to make forced to love you and hate the other parent. They're going to see the true nature of who you really are.
It takes a strong child, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because here's a person that has been emotionally manipulated, lied to their whole existence. And so they have to be able to see, game recognizes game. Like you're going to, like, they have to shut it down because that
Mm-hmm.
manipulation, once the truth is exposed, that's when all the, I hate these new terms, gaslighting happens,
Mm-hmm.
flipping things and, the guilt trips and all of that. No, you have to have a resolve of what, because it's not okay what happened to that child. It's
No,
not okay. And
no.
you have to, the same way that the father is being punished, you know, that person, male, because the fathers get custody sometimes and they
Yeah,
can be parental alienation, whatever. So
of
it
course.
goes both ways. But we're
Yeah,
talking about women here.
yeah.
The fact is that you have to be able to own it. It's like getting slapped by a dude. I don't condone violence, but don't go hitting the dude and be surprised if he hits you back, whether it's out of reflex, self defense, or whatever the case may be, and then say you can't put your hands on me because I'm a female.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then why did you put your hands on me?
That's real. That's real. Let me ask you this: do you think you having a son because how your mind is, which is great. It's not how majority of women think, right? So because sometimes it takes to have a son to kind of see what a man will or go through. You think that's why you think this way, or is it because your father, seeing the result of the truth from your father, or is it being a mother of a son? Like, why do you think your mind think this way?
Um, I think that what happened to my son, because my son's disability is a result of medical malpractice. So
Mm-hmm.
that made me grow up really fast,
Mm-hmm.
as far as learning not just to be a mother, but being more of a nurse, doctor, caretaker type of situation. So, you're forced to grow up in that capacity. But I think that it goes back to what made me be this way is, again, it's these inherited traits, because we all have inherited traits.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said before, there's certain characteristics that you may have that are exactly like your mother's,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you have these other things that I don't know if you have a relationship with your father, but it's like, okay, though that's, we think about, oh, nose, hair, eyes. No, these little gestures that we do,
Mm-hmm.
certain, ticks that we have. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't get that from her. I didn't get, who did I get it from? My father used to do this inheritive, like, type of thing, that exhausted sigh.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that for as long as I can remember. That irritated, like, where did I get that from? And then when he started doing it, I'm like, I got it from you.
Ah,
It's their little DNA things,
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's just, I lived in such a wrong way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just with him, it was to know him when I turned 40. Um, is bittersweet in a sense, and I know that's going to suck for a lot of fathers to hear this, is that I may not be able to make closure with my child, or there might not be enough time for them to know the truth. And it's a question of, what do you want them to understand? Do you want them to understand you as an adult? because I don't think that I could have processed or comprehended any of the stuff that my father revealed to me when I was in my
Mm-hmm.
teens. That my brain is still developing. My hormones are all over the place. I'm dealing with so much. Like, how am I supposed to deal with that? And I think that for him, he was the most responsible of the two, in the sense that the number one rule is don't get your kids involved in your mess. And he never spoke ill will. And he never had a chance to, because he was alienated from me. It was her plugging it into my head about what a horrible person he was, and I never heard a peep about it. But now I look at it as an adult, and that's one of the first rules. Don't involve your children in your divorces, in your custody thing, that you don't. And he didn't, because I came of age to understand it. Because when you're
Mm-hmm.
of age, that's when the truth matters.
Yeah, man. You know what? You said a very key thing. You're right, because a lot of dads would want their kids to, as young as possible, so they don't lose a lot of time. But then when they come to you with so much anger and they're so young, they can't understand what child support wages, what I'm saying, is, and what this court document means. Like, they don't care about that. The thing is, he wasn't here. That's what they care about.
You're here.
So it's kind of, I guess, for the father, you win, but you kind of still lose in a way. I mean, I guess
Mhm.
based on how your perspective is, I think some dads just happy that, I finally got to see my daughter before I leave this planet. But it's still like you lost those years that you can't get back and make back, and it's just heartbroken either way. Everyone lose, right? Even the child, like you lost, those years as well, that bond. And also I know, like, eventually, your both your parents, eventually, like, no longer here, right? So now, how long did you have with your dad before he passed away? Like the
two
whole
years.
bonding phase. Two, how
Yeah,
many years?
I reunited with him in 2018,
Hmm.
and he passed in 2022.
Okay, so now when you say reunited, because you followed up with him at 18 years old, right?
Yes,
So after that first visitation, you never went back, or you never stay in contact?
I never went. We never stay in contact. Just, I wanted to hold true to that, some part of my promise, that I just wanted to move on. I wanted
Mhm.
closure. Like, I'm okay, and I don't want you to worry. And after he had shown me what he had shown me, and he was pretty much, you do what you want with this, you
Mm,
know and it wasn't that I didn't want to reunite with him again, and I didn't want to be around him again. I was dealing with a lot with my oldest son,
mm,
with his disability. Like, it's just, I couldn't. It wasn't about me anymore at that moment. It was about my child.
let's see.
And
Okay.
yeah, so that, it got lost along the way, but in the end, it was like, I'm gonna, even when my mother died in 2015, like, it never hit me to be like, it didn't really hit me until I approached my 40th birthday. Like, I want to reach out to him. I want to tell him, like, that I'm good. And for my 40th birthday wish, if you're still around, I'd like to see you, and that's when that whole thing came out with the child support and that other
Wow.
stuff, that docs I showed you. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was gnarly. It was gnarly.
So and then so you think losing your mom triggered, what? I just lost a parent. Let me reach out to my dad before it's too late for it, to lose him. Well, was that it?
Here's a stern warning reminder to the responsibility of the father when the truth is revealed in when their time comes for vindication. Don't gloat about it.
Don't do it. Don't do
Don't
what you
gloat,
said.
don't gloat, don't gloat. Yeah, don't. Because here's the thing. This is the end result. When she passed, I know this is going to sound harsh. I laughed.
So y'all never made up before she passed.
No, me and her, no.
Wow,
When she died, I was happy.
man.
I was literally boisterously laughing. I was so glad she was dead.
Wow.
Even though I had not spoken to her in years. But I felt a sense of freedom, of like, and then it just baffled me that my sisters and everybody were like mourning her and, oh my God, and rest in peace. And you were such a good mom. Like, what? Like, wait, so all of a sudden you die and you're Mother Teresa? Like, that's what happens. It's like, it was unreal to me. I'm like, did we just forget the past like 30, 40 years of abuse because she's dead? Oh, let her rest in peace. She didn't let us rest when she was alive. Like, as a parent, as a child, you have a right to be angry. You have a right to feel okay with that cloud. It's okay to have those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to express them. It might not be the most popular, but they're your feelings, and nobody has a right to take that away from you.
That's
So the
true.
advice that I say is about, you're going to have a moment, fathers, that your child may feel some type of way about their hatred to, that feeling of betrayal. Don't bask in that. You have to deal, as my father would say, from a position of strength, because every action that was committed by the baby mama was pure acts of weakness.
Mm,
So you have to be the strong one. You have to be the rock, where, if you can't say don't disrespect her that way. You just have to be like, I get how you feel. You have
mm,
a right to feel how you feel. Because now they're, and I get it, it's the kind of the traditional thing. Well, hey, don't talk about your mother that way. Oh, don't talk about that. Child will automatically flip on you and be like, wait, what? Don't talk about her that way. You
mm-hmm.
know how much she's told me about you?
Mm,
Put you through everything she put me through. It's not about that. It's, you have to be up here at this level to say, I get that. And we'll deal with that in time.
mm-hmm.
In time. You have time to heal. But now it's, let's focus on us. Like,
Mm,
here now, I don't have much time left.
yeah,
Let's make this time that we have together count,
yeah,
not in the negativity, because that will bring it all down.
yeah. It's
And
true.
she'll still have a hold over the relationship.
Facts, facts, man. And it also, even the things you sent me too, to see that, you know, you see all those child support documents and all that kind of stuff. Um, did that create, I guess, more newfound of hatred towards your mom? Like, oh my gosh, she really like had that man paying his entire life, even after she was gone. Or was it more like, let me help you out, Dad? Let's sort this out.
Um, I mean, when I turned 18, and that was the point where I began my, I don't want to say began my hatred, like my feeling of betrayal just kept going and
Mm,
going, because for all that time, from 18 till whenever the point that we had our physical interaction, I knew all this information. I knew that he was paying. I also,
okay.
and I'm not sure what state you're in, but in a lot of states, she was on public assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So those payments were all being taken by the state. So he was automatically getting garnished because she was on welfare,
Mm-hmm.
and thus inherently myself, my sister, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but yes, she was still getting written receipt. Like, she was still double dipping. It's
Mm,
like, so she was committing a lot of welfare fraud. Jumping from place to place, living with no designated address. That's why in a lot of these court proceedings that I see on the your channel,
mm-hmm.
it's like they want to have a non-disclosure about where the other person
Mm,
lives. Why is that? You're not afraid for your safety. You're afraid because
exactly.
you're collecting public assistance, and you don't want them to find out where you at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is good. Like, I think honestly, you should, a lot of women that have these types of experiences, it's hard to get them to come out and say, you know, I hate the word terms, their truth, but their experiences, I should say.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not seeing, if you really want to tap into it, an older audience,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they've gone through it. They've gone through the different eras from the 80s where the court systems were broken, and the court systems are still broken. But it's just like, and you were absolutely right on one of your channels, how child support is just this $1 billion industry that
Mm-hmm.
lawyers and judges and court clerks are getting paid for, while your stuff is just sitting there. I
Yeah.
mean, if they had the same veracity, and it's like, and it's the court's fault because how quickly it took for us to, when we reunited, and in 2018 I went with him to the courthouse to say, what, we're going to make this right, because she had already been dead for 3 years, and
Mm.
but he was still getting taken out of his social security checks and his VA checks because he served.
Where was that money going when it was after she passed away, and who was that money going towards? You guys?
So
Like,
when she passed, it went to the state.
oh
Yeah, because she
wow.
was on welfare.
Uh,
So, but here's the crazy thing about it, and this is how we deal with this is a broken system we're dealing with. That's why with the fathers, it's just important, get as much information as you can, current, up to date, because she legally changed her name. I don't know how she did it, and moved to another state in the Midwest, all the while collecting child support benefits, okay, under two different names.
oh, she, at the same time.
Yes. First name here in New York, second name in the Midwest. But she's
Wow.
collecting child support. She's collecting it over there under both names. When she passed, I went to the Social Security office because, as her daughter, which I provided the copy of the birth certificate and her death certificate, that I
Mm.
wanted all of her Social Security information. The Social Security office told me that she had her information through Social Security locked. And
Oh.
you can actually do that, where you can lock your Social Security number attached to any information. And she did that before she left New York. So
Mm.
you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. Wow.
And when I told him that she had been dead for 3 years, he was like, "What the HE double hockey sticks? What do you like?" He was like, and he was apprehensive at first of me reaching out because he didn't know he didn't know she was dead.
Mm.
So he thought I was like chiming in on her behalf or whatever. No, and my next thing was, I can't do anything regarding her. I can only, as I am here, do what is right to fix this right now.
Mm.
And so we went, and he didn't think I was going to do it because apprehensive. I'm like, no, here's a copy of her death certificate. Here's a copy of her autopsy. Whatever I don't care. I will go with you. And eventually, little by little, they started refunding the money back.
Oh, okay.
But it took a long time
Yeah, that's
because
like a lot of money.
and child support doesn't want to realize that they messed up.
Yeah, yeah. It's, no, they mess like a lot of time, but yeah, and they don't want to even pay you back the money too. They're gonna,
Yeah,
they only,
even though it's their fault.
yeah, yeah. They,
Like, how do you do that? How do you change your name and pay child support out, garnish somebody's wages to give it to two different names under one account? Huh?
crazy,
And
crazy.
I'm over the age. Like, what?
Even crazier. So you passed the age a long time ago, and then she's
Yes.
yeah, clap with child support.
Yes. Till 2018, this man was paying child support.
And then your dad, and I'm gonna hold him accountable real quickly. He didn't know like, hey, the kids are not 17 anymore. Like, why am I still paying child support? He didn't
Because
like put two and two together.
here's why. Because they put the arrears on him, right?
Oh,
All the papers that she signed
yeah.
back in those days didn't count.
Oh yeah, yeah. Cause
Didn't
so they backtrack the thing she signed. It's not really child support because it wasn't.
did not matter.
Wow, so he was giving her money. Really, I mean, it's still, I guess, for you guys, but really, it's not. It didn't really benefit him because
Mm-hmm.
it did not even count. So that's why when you send me the document, it says 60K of arrears of back child support.
Mm-hmm.
So to him, he's just paying arrears. He's like, because that's a lot of money to pay him and back child support. So he's like, whatever. It's just I'm stuck with this forever. So he's not thinking about you guys no longer 18 and she's gone now. It's just paying arrears, but really he's just double paying extra money.
Yep. So the
Wow.
courts with even those little papers that he had and he had her sign, even though he showed the proof that he paid it, the courts were like, it has to be a money order. It has to be or deducted from your paycheck, will garnish your paycheck, because she flat out lied and said, nope, I didn't receive any money, Your Honor. And he showed the receipt. Oh, that's not my, I don't know. He could have had his wife sign that for him.
Yeah. Wow.
So then the judge said, you owe $60,000.
This is the thing that a lot of fathers go through. And I tell a lot of dads, don't never give the mother of your child cash. Don't never do that. Don't just, if you use, like, document everything. Use, if you got now, you can use Zelle, but document everything digitally. Don't never just give her cash. She could always say he never gave me anything at all. I'm trying to say, and man, and with child support, to them, they mad because they didn't get paid from the money that he was giving her. They want to get their cut. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's what it is. They get their cut. When the mother get paid, as you know, they get paid too. All that cash don't go straight to the mom. They get their cut, and then the mom get her what's left over. So to be behind 60K for any man, anybody, even as a woman, it's you like more about it's a whole it's my entire life, because I'm not gonna give you 60K lump sum. So just take them out as we go. And his mind is like, you know what? This is part of the 60K. He just stopped counting. So I see why. Wow. Now and then, how long it took to cut off everything? Once you kind of met up with him to stop the child support payments.
When he got his money, when he started getting his money
Yeah,
back.
yeah. How long that took?
2019. So it was about, we went in, the document, our court hearing was November of 2018.
Hmm.
So the first checks was that one that I sent,
Yeah,
that was the first, and then the other ones started coming up larger, larger, larger.
man. They have any other kids after you guys when he moved? Well, did he have kids for? I know your mom said he had kids. Did he have
Well,
kids?
stepchildren.
Oh, but it was not never like his own kid with a new wife or new woman.
Nope. He would
Wow,
not. He always said no matter what, he wouldn't even adopt the
man.
stepchildren. He's like, I have two
Wow.
daughters.
Damn, man. Like your dad, poor guy, man. I mean, like it's he definitely you too. You went through a lot. Your dad definitely went through a lot, and even paying all that money in child support and back child support. But at least, like at the very end, though, he got to, I'm guessing, spend his last years with you and bonding with you.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I think for me, so for me, it was bonding with him, but it was just enjoying our time. Sorry if I get emotional. I listened to him a lot. Because he was old. He was up there in age, and I knew that his time was short. His wife of 35 years had passed in 2019. She passed in 2019. And after that, he passed. And he was with her for 35 years. So, he died of, I'd like to say he died of a broken heart because he was with her for so long, but he had lived a full life. And I just wanted to hear as much of it as I could. So I'd go to his apartment and just listen to him talk, or I'd, have my phone and we'd talk. And the thing is that, and I recorded our last conversations together. He didn't know I was recording them, but I was recording them just because I knew that his end was coming at some point. And I would never hear his voice again. So, I have those conversations. And it's just, just he just talked about, and he's the type of guy, he was the type of guy, he would repeat the same story over and over and over again. And I would just sit there and be like, yeah, 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 all right, okay, yeah, keep going. And that's just, I knew I was just absorbing as much as I could. I didn't want to dwell on, the past and his absence, because there's nothing he could have done. He did all he could. And it was up to me as an adult to say, I understand. I know why you, and he kind of like was taken aback. He's like, I fought for you. I'm like, no, I know you did. But she was, I mean, you went to Vietnam. that didn't mean a damn thing when it came to her because she owned you. You thought war was bad. This woman was worse. It was, I mean, he was a great soldier. He served his country. He did things over there, and he was still no match for my mother.
Yeah, yeah, it's man, it's tough, man. I mean, so, but now as for you though, during those last years with him, did you end up finding any like closure? Like, how did you end up feeling till the very end regarding
Oh,
everything?
I loved him. Whew, I miss him. I wear his dog tag. It
Oh
was
no,
it was gifted to me
that's
when he
cool,
passed. So, but I love him more than I ever did.
man. Like, what's your message as we wrap up to any person that either gone through or went through what you went through, but never had a chance to really either connect or haven't decided to reconnect with their father, man? Like, what could you tell them?
It's oh my god. See this I'll tell you because this is real. You It hurts that he's not here, but I'm so grateful that I have that closure. That I have that peace. That truth was, and that he knew that I loved him and he loved me. You know, um, it's hard. It's hard for you dads, and I am so sorry you have to go through it. But understand that your children are suffering too. And there will come a time you just have to don't don't let it break you because your baby's gonna need you. Your baby's gonna need you when the truth comes out, and you have to be that shoulder. You have to be that strength. They're gonna need it because in today's day and age, it's like we go to videos and TikTok and, except interviews, like always visit the channel. Visit your channel. You're seeing these behaviors and these girls and they don't know how to act. They don't know how to act. And it's like they need some type of stability. They need that. And if they're not getting it now, they will get it. You just have to be patient. It's hard. That doesn't mean stop living your life. That doesn't mean finding love. That doesn't mean that every woman that you encounter is going to be whatever experience you're dealing with. You just have to put your worth out there too. You're worth just as much. You're just as much. You're that balance that child needs. They're going to need you one day. Be there. Just be there when they need you to be. When they need you to be, not when she needs you to be. Because you have to. If you love that child more than you hate that woman, then you've already won half the battle.
Mm, man, like this, it's so much chills in my body.
Sorry.
No, like it's like I said, because a lot of fathers, man, because that could have been any father. That could have been me down the line in the future where I never see my daughter. And then fast forward, it could have been so much. A lot of dads that this is their story. A lot of dads never had that happy ending. And it just breaks my heart because, and like you said, as a father, you have to love that child more than you hate the mother. And that is very hard to do when you put a dad through that, and the fact that the dad loved the child more than even hate the mother, it just shows a whole other level of strength. But it's just sad because the child, like you right now, even though you at a grown age, because me being a dad and hearing your story, I'm seeing you respectfully as like that little girl that didn't have that father. So it's breaking my heart seeing that. You know what I mean? So with that being said, though, for those younger couples or mothers that might be watching, that might end up watching this video, that's being bitter at the moment, right? But they have a chance to grow out of it. What can you tell them to help them really grow and show that, hey, this is the effect of what might happen to the child. You causing that child to be fatherless. This is what's going on. This can be that child's future if you don't tighten up. I mean, thank God, you try to be great and amazing, but prior to that, though, you had those rough childhood and those pain. So those mothers that's doing what your mother did, what can you tell those moms and how to make them stop doing it?
Oh wow. They will hate you. They will hate you. They will hate you. Your child will hate you. And I don't care how many you pop out to replace that
Mm,
child. That hate is genuine and unique. If you wanted to be selfish about something, then you could be selfish all you want for that child, that hatred that that child is going to feel towards you. It is, and some women are very nonchalant about it. They act like they don't care. They could be sociopaths. They could be psychopaths. They could be, we are hormonally and emotionally challenged. I'm not saying we're disabled, but we are hormonally and emotionally challenged. And, to see women doing this and taking that dark path, you got to be bigger than that. And unfortunately, I've seen it's just, it boggles my mind. And even now, more than ever, your child will hate you because we are in this era,
hmm
we are in this age. And unless you have a PhD in gaslighting 101, this is the truth right now.
hmm
And all that needs to be said is I will wait until this child turns 18 years old. And when they come to find me, I will show them the truth. I will
mm
show them what's what. This is forever. I don't understand how these people act this way now that we're in this era of
hmm
the internet. Like the
hmm
cloud is forever. I mean, back in the 80s, you got away with that shit and you had, it's totally different now. And how people still act this way. It is the best way that I can say is your arrogance will be your downfall.
mm
Because a woman, at the end of the day, I'm going to be very candid. I apologize to anyone I might offend, but ladies, your boobs are going to sag. You're going to get double chins. You're going to get your skin tags. Your butt ain't going to lift the way that it used to. And eventually, what do you have left besides the badonkadonk? Do you have a brain in there? Do you have the nurturing and spirit to actually be mother? And
mm.
if that's the case, just go get fixed, please. Do the world a favor and
Yeah.
get fixed and make room for a woman that is actually going to be a woman.
Mm. Well said. Well said, Sabrina. This was amazing. Thanks for sharing again. And I know you had to open up and dig deep in the past, and but hearing this story, man, like I said, it's beautiful. It's like its own movie, right? And I'm glad both you and your father, till the very end, had that last bond, and that's like the last memories you have of him, and he have of you, right? It just like I'm very big into like God, and it's just God will work in ways where it's like what. I can't get y'all back the past, but I can get y'all the future, and I think that's a great way to really finish that chapter in both his and your life, right? And bless your heart, like I say, bless your heart, and you doing God's work. Sharing your story is just the beginning. Sometime to inspire somebody to fight for their kids, so that way a child, daughter, or son won't go through what you went through just by you telling your story right now, right? So, thank you for doing this. It's much appreciated. You
I
know.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Uh, so before we go, anything else you want to say? Any kind of last plug-in? Look, what's the website again? Tell them how to find your work and purchase.
So you can go to on my Instagram. It's all one word, Casa Cherrywood Carvings. In Yonkers, New York. So there I have all the events and the things that I create on my IG page. You can go to casacherrywood.com and purchase online. All my pieces are one of a kind. And that's pretty much it. I mean, just keep fighting, keep what you do as a coach. Looking at it from that perspective, it's hard because it's so one-sided, because it's like,
hmm
this isn't about mother, father,
hmm
you know it's about that child.
Exactly.
It's that
Right.
child. And but it sucks that fathers have to go through this. It's unfair. But if we don't continue to try to put a spotlight on it,
Mhm.
then nothing's gonna change. It's just gonna, more. We're gonna be more of the same, and we don't need that.
Well said. Folks, Sabrina, go support her, man. Purchase, support, and show some love. This is all great advice from the heart. Nothing, against anybody. Just all about love and support. So thank you again, Sabrina. Listen, have a blessed day. For those
You
that watched the episode, follow us on MenBeau's.org, both on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment. Follow us on IG, TikTok, the same name, MenBeau's.org, or visit our website, menbeaus.org. At the end of the day, the last thing I'm gonna say to everybody is love the child more than you hate each other. That's the bottom line. You do that, it'll be all good.